Breaking news here, the U.S. agreeing on an Argentina $20 billion swap line where it would help buy pesos. This framework basically allows for that and helps support that country's currency, because this has kind of been an ongoing story that has been very disruptive.
Tonight, the U.S. bailout of Argentina has been finalized. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced today that the United States directly purchased Argentine pesos as part of a $20 billion currency swap. But he insists the deal is not a bailout. So let's make something clear. Downplaying it as merely a swap agreement, exchanging pesos for dollars to stabilize their economy, well, at the very least, that is not the full picture. Now, we might not be writing a direct $20 billion check to Argentina, but we are still taking enormous risk to help out a friend of the president who's up for re-election in a country that is in trouble. That's this guy right there on your screen, handing Elon Musk a bedazzled chainsaw. And Argentina is not a top trading partner for us. What is this? It is a massive loan. And if Argentina does default, and they may, it is a $20 billion loss for us. The Fed will be left holding a ginormous bag of pesos worth nothing. So you could call it a hidden bailout or a direct bailout. This is a huge win for Argentina, its president, and the group of U.S. investors Secretary Bessent knows very well who bet big on Argentina. So keep in mind, this is happening while the U.S. government is shut down. Thousands of furloughed federal workers are not getting their paychecks this week. So when we hear about America First, know this. This America First, in this instance, is the investor class. That right there is the full picture.
$20 billion just left American taxpayers' pockets and landed in Argentina. Not for disaster relief, not for humanitarian aid, for politics, for hedge funds that made bad bets. And while that money crosses borders, American farmers are watching their soybeans rot. Here's what happened. America bails out Argentina. Argentina drops export taxes. China suddenly gets Argentine soybeans at bargain prices. American farmers, priced out of their own market by their own government's money. The same people who spent years railing against government handouts are now begging for one. The same voices that screamed no more socialism are demanding taxpayer-funded bailouts. This isn't theory. This is documented policy, creating documented consequences. We're diving into the Argentina bailout, the soybean crisis, and what happens when ideology crashes into economics. Let's break it down.
Let me tell you about a crime. The felon is sending $20 billion to bail out Argentina. He says it's to help the president, who is a fan of the felon, and ruin the economy like the felon is doing here. But then there's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who has an old buddy, Robert Citron, who bet big on Argentina and is about to lose his shirt. But Bobby doesn't have to worry because Bessent and the felon swoop in with a taxpayer-funded lifeline, which will make his bonds golden again. And this isn't the first time. Bessent did this for his friend earlier this year. To top it all off, Argentina is able to undercut American soybeans due to the bailout and sell them to China, leaving our soybeans in the silos and our farmers penniless.
If I see another farmer on TV crying and whining about their situation, I'm going to go insane. Let's get into it.
All right, let's pause right here. Because this isn't just corruption. It's incompetence wrapped in ideology and tied with a bow of hypocrisy. $20 billion goes to Argentina, ostensibly to help a friend. But really, it's to bail out hedge fund managers who bet big on Argentina's libertarian experiment and were about to lose their shirts. So American taxpayer money goes to Argentina. Argentina drops export taxes to zero. China buys their soybeans at a massive discount, and American farmers watch their crops rot. Meanwhile, the hedge funds that were about to collapse, they're making profits now. This is trickle-down economics in action. Money flows up, consequences flow down. And for the farmers standing there confused, wondering why their entire industry just got kneecapped to help foreign competitors, welcome to the party. You voted for this. Here's the lesson. When someone tells you they're going to run government like a business, believe them. Because businesses prioritize profits for shareholders, not workers. And in this case, you're not the shareholder.
So I'm kind of piggybacking off a video I saw yesterday, the day before, from Middle Aged Rider. Go follow him if you're not doing it already. He's got good content. But I am just so sick of seeing farmers crying and whining because they can't sell their soybeans or whatever crop they've got. I'm going to remind you what these same fucking farmers were saying back in 2019 when the same bullshit was happening, and they still showed up to vote for this. So back in 2019 and 2020, you can see here that farmers were given billions and billions and billions of dollars of straight cash payments, checks written of $100,000 or more sent straight to them. Look, 28 billion in 2 years, all because of his trade war. You can see here, farm subsidies jumped to their most in 14 years back in 2019. This farmer here who was interviewed could not sell his soybeans to China because of Trump's tariffs back in 2019. And then he said, Trump money is what we call it. It helped a lot, and my understanding is they're going to do it again. So yes, boy, they loved that government money coming to them, didn't they? Shows right here. Thousands of farmers got more than $100,000 each. Roughly twice as much as the actual harm. I mean, they was just throwing them money. And now they want to come back 5 years later, whining and crying and bitching and moaning. I'm so sick of it. I'm going to show you a farmer from North Dakota right now who did a damn interview, and she tells you just exactly how fucking selfish they all are.
Jager says that ever since the August 1st tariffs took place, she's been worried about her income, loans, and bills. She says that she's never had to worry before about her crops not having a market. China, which usually buys the largest amount of soybeans from U.S. farmers, has stopped because of tariffs.
Out against everything, knowing that agriculture in America needs an international market, it's just really unfair. You know, how about you look at the items that you really could tariff that won't affect so many people.
Oh my God. Tariff everybody else, but don't tariff us. This is the entire ideology in one sentence. Consequences for thee, but not for me. Capitalism for the poor, socialism for the connected. This farmer is literally saying, I support policies that hurt other people, but the second they hurt me, that's unfair. That's not how this was supposed to work. And look, I get it. Farming is brutal. Margins are thin. One bad year can wipe you out. But when you cheer for policies that explicitly damage trade relationships with your biggest customer, you don't get to act surprised when that customer stops buying from you. China didn't stop buying American soybeans because they're petty. They stopped because the administration started a trade war, and they responded by finding more reliable partners, like Brazil. And Brazil didn't waste the opportunity. They built infrastructure, expanded production, secured long-term contracts. They nearly doubled their soybean output since 2017. That's not coming back. Those markets are gone. So when this farmer says tariff things that won't affect so many people, what she's really saying is, I want the benefits of economic nationalism without any of the costs. I want protection without competition. I want the market rigged in my favor. That's not capitalism. That's entitlement.
I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Tariffs for all of us. She don't mind that. Tariff everybody else, but don't tariff us. I mean, completely selfish assholes. Everybody saw what was coming. I'm out of empathy for you, okay? You deserve to live with the fucking consequences of the decision that you made, just like everybody else has to live with the fucking decision that you made.
Exactly. This is the core of it. Everyone has to live with the consequences of the decisions these folks made at the ballot box. People in cities, people who never touched a soybean, people who saw this coming and tried to warn them. And now those same people are supposed to feel bad? Supposed to dig into their pockets to bail out the very group that created this mess? Here's the reality check. Bailouts don't fix structural problems. You can throw $16 billion, $24 billion, even $50 billion at farmers. But if China's buying from Brazil, if your workforce got deported, if equipment costs are sky high because of tariffs on imported parts, you're still in the same hole, just deeper in debt. Bailouts reward failure. They let people keep making the same mistakes because they know someone will catch them. Meanwhile, a single parent working 2 jobs and struggling to afford groceries gets told to budget better. But a farmer who voted for policies that tanked his own market? Here's a check. The hypocrisy is the point. Because the system was never designed to help everyone equally. It was designed to protect certain people from their own bad decisions.
Republicans in farm country are utterly livid at the Trump administration for an, frankly, inscrutable, utterly outrageous bailout that it made to Argentina last week. But why are farmers angry? So here's why. Because of Trump's trade war with China, China has bought zero soybeans from American farmers this year. China eats about 2/3 of all the soybeans around the world. Last year, China, I think, accounted for about 52% of soybean purchases. So, in other words, without China buying soybeans from US farmers, our farmers are utterly screwed. Now, the only other real alternatives for China are one, to grow them in China, and they're trying to do that long term, but really to purchase them from Brazil and also Argentina. Most of what they but when they're not getting it from us, comes from Brazil, but Argentina is also a huge producer of soybeans. So last week, the Trump administration announced a $20 billion bailout of Argentina because Trump said he's supporting his friend in the upcoming election, Javier Milei. Javier Milei, you might remember, this is Elon Musk's buddy who did like a Doge type move on Argentina, and he drove the Argentinian economy into the ground, now needs a massive bailout. So Trump is offering this $20 billion lifeline. The same day that Trump and Besant announced this lifeline, Reuters reports that Argentina is now shipping massive amounts of soybeans to China and cut its export taxes to zero. In other words, the American money that we're sending to Argentina is making up the gap. So Argentina now doesn't have to charge these export fees on its soybeans, so China gets a huge discount. So China is out there scrambling, trying to find soybeans to feed its population without buying American soybeans because they're in a trade war that we started with them. And Trump just made it much cheaper and easier for China to buy those from Argentina. Now, there's another brutal aspect to this that isn't getting any coverage, and it's that American hedge funds invested heavily in Argentina after Milei was elected because they thought that his libertarian slash everything approach to the economy was actually going to turn things around and make Argentina a good investment. It didn't work at all. The economy collapsed. And so these American hedge funds were about to lose billions and billions of dollars on these stupid investments. But now Besant, a former hedge fund guy, is the Treasury Secretary now, is coming in, and thanks to the bailout, the hedge funds are actually going to make a profit. And the final piece of this is that this is not the first time that Trump has done this to soybean farmers. The first time he was president, he started a trade war with China, and China responded by not buying soybeans from American farmers. And China instead told Brazil, we want to up our purchases from you. And then they actually started investing and helping Brazil build more highways, and they're putting more than $200 million into this port of Santos to help create capacity so that they can massively expand production of soybeans and exports to China. So they've basically almost doubled production from 2017 to today. Brazil has, and of course, all of these Brazilian soybeans that are being produced now are coming at the expense of the Amazonian rainforest, which was chopped down in order to make room for them. So awesome, everybody's winning.
Let me make sure I understand this correctly. American taxpayers send $20 billion to Argentina. Argentina uses that money to eliminate export taxes. China buys Argentina soybeans at a discount. American farmers can't compete, so we just paid for our own competition. We subsidize the very country undercutting our agricultural sector. This is beyond incompetence. This is self-sabotage with a price tag, and the people celebrating this as strategic or 4D chess. They're either lying or they genuinely don't understand how international trade works. When you lose a customer, you don't get them back by helping their new supplier. You don't rebuild trust by proving you're unreliable. You don't win a trade war by funding the other side. China's not coming back to American farmers? Why would they? They've got Brazil producing record amounts. They've got Argentina offering discounts funded by American taxpayers. They've built infrastructure, locked in contracts, diversified their supply chain. American farmers are now the backup option, the expensive, unreliable backup option. That's the legacy of these policies. Not strength, not winning, just expensive, Permanent market loss.
We've got new reporting here from the Wall Street Journal just within the past couple of moments, putting a number now on that aid to farmers that President Trump has been talking about all week to basically bail out the farm sector from some of the damage that they've had from the retaliatory actions from China as part of the trade war. The Wall Street Journal reporting that the total package the Trump administration is considering now is between $10 and $14 billion in aid to American farmers. They caution that that is still maybe a bit of a moving target. Discussions are ongoing, and they're sourcing here people familiar with the conversations. We saw Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on CNBC this morning saying a bailout package for farmers could come as early as Tuesday. Not clear whether that is a set in stone date for that bailout package, but clearly the details now taking shape behind closed doors, and the Wall Street Journal reporting that the total dollar value here could be between 10 and 14 billion. Remember, some of those farmers have been really hard hit here because the Chinese have not ordered any soybeans at all from American farmers this year. That would normally be billions of dollars a year in transactions that those farmers are going without so far. So pretty dramatic impact on that.
Nobody's winning, except maybe Brazil. American farmers losing. They're watching their soybeans rot while Brazil ships record volumes to China. American taxpayers losing. $20 billion gone to prop up Argentina's economy. The Amazon rainforest definitely losing. Because all those Brazilian soybeans required land, and that land came from chopping down rainforest. So in the quest to punish China and bring back jobs, the administration managed to destroy American agriculture, fund foreign competitors, accelerate deforestation, and waste billions in taxpayer money. That's not winning. That's not even losing gracefully. That's setting yourself on fire and then asking why it's so hot. And the farmers who supported this, they're standing in the ashes wondering why no one warned them, except people did warn them. Economists warned them. Trade experts warned them. Even other farmers warned them. They just didn't want to listen. Because the rhetoric felt good. Because the promises sounded nice. Because admitting you might be wrong is harder than doubling down. So here we are. In the preventable disaster everyone saw coming.
OMB Director Russ Vought just announced that President Trump's team just saved Americans nearly $8 billion by canceling wasteful Green New Deal climate projects. This is exactly what we voted for. These projects were spread across 16 states, from California to New York, but instead of helping everyday Americans, they were fueling the left's radical climate agenda. Honestly, why should taxpayers foot the bill for programs that raise costs, kill jobs, and don't put America first? By cutting this funding, the Trump administration is sending a clear message. No more blank checks for special interests. Our money should go towards securing our energy independence, lowering costs for families, and rebuilding America, not lining the pockets of climate lobbyists. This is leadership in action. Trump promised to drain the swamp, and now we're watching it happen in real time, billions at a time. Now, in my opinion, the left is going to scream that this kills jobs, but the truth is real jobs come from strong American energy and industry, and that's what Trump is building. This is yet again another win for MAGA, and we are getting exactly what we voted for. Have a great day, Patriots.
This right here is the problem. We're getting exactly what we voted for. Are you? Are you really? Because from where I'm sitting, American farmers are losing their markets, American taxpayers are funding foreign competitors, and American workers are watching their social programs get cut while billions go overseas. $8 billion cut from Green New Deal programs. $20 billion sent to Argentina. Where's the logic? Where's the America first? And before anyone says those green programs were wasteful, maybe. But you know what's definitely wasteful? Sending $20 billion to another country so they can undercut your own citizens. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Cutting domestic programs is fiscal responsibility, but foreign bailouts? That's leadership. Here's a reality check. Real energy independence doesn't come from cutting clean energy research. It comes from diversifying energy sources, investing in infrastructure, and reducing reliance on volatile global markets. Real job creation doesn't come from tariffs that spike costs and destroy supply chains. It comes from education, workforce development, and economic policies that actually make sense. But sure, keep celebrating, keep calling this winning. Maybe if you say it loud enough, your bank account won't notice the difference.
So Trump has given $20 billion to Argentina. He's pledged that to help bail them out. There's a lot of complex, nuanced stuff that I'm not going to get into. We can discuss it later. But the bottom line is that American farmers are really pissed off, American soybean farmers in particular, and rightfully so, I think, because in the midst of him giving $20 billion to Argentina, Argentina then went forth and sold a bunch of soybeans to China. And typically, we are the ones that sell a lot of those soybeans to China. So a bunch of our farmers who typically rely on being able to sell their soybeans to China can't do that. China already bought them from Argentina, who we also just gave a bunch of money to, 20 billion. And so the farmers are like, what the heck, Trump? So anyway, now inevitably we will have to bail the farmers out. Trump will say, oh, it's okay, we'll subsidize you. And all of his followers will say, yeah, but you just don't understand. This is actually 4D chess and Trump's really smart. And no, you guys were talking about getting rid of fraud and waste, talking about getting rid of government handouts, talking about this really strategic guy who's so intelligent and, you know, world politics and business and economics. And he knows everything about everything, right? He's so smart. He's going to put America first. Okay, so farmers, they're pissed. The farmers are mad, and we've been seeing that. Like anybody who isn't like in Fox News hole sees that the American farmers have been getting really mad at Trump, realizing that his policies of mass deportations and wild, arbitrary tariffs are not beneficial to the American farmer. And just giving them bailout money really kind of doesn't make sense because we're losing money on one end and then we're pulling out taxpayer money to bail the farmers out. How is that America first? How is that like economically responsible or fiscally responsible? Like this doesn't fit the conservative ideology as far as what I've always been told. Like everything he's doing, superseding local authorities, like sending the federal government in to intervene in local business and in people's lives, taking away freedom of speech or attempting to anyway, all those things. And then all this stuff with the farmers, like a lot of people have realized that they voted against their own interests, but a lot of you people who haven't been affected personally yet are just doubling and tripling, quadrupling down on your support for Trump. And you're like, oh, you're just dumb. You just don't understand, his strategy. Like, what is his strategy? I want you to explain it. Like, really, I am not claiming to be an economic expert by any stretch or an expert on tariffs or foreign relations or any of that stuff. But it just seems to me that this doesn't really sit in harmony with the picture you paint to me of Trump as this super wonderfully strategic, intelligent businessman who is also going to make sure that things are most beneficial for America and American businesses and American farmers. And here's a really important part, that we're going to not bail people out and give away tax money. Like we're cutting people off of programs, children. We're cutting families off of sustenance programs. Okay, but we can bail out farmers and we can bail out Argentina, and I'm not begrudging the farmers their bailout. I'm not. I'm just saying, how do you logically reconcile that? I want to know, those of you who still support Trump, what do you think about this whole Argentina situation with the soybeans? I would like to know your opinion, your honest opinion. Please don't come in here and just post a bunch of memes and call me a bunch of horrible names and just be completely rude and act in a way that I hope you wouldn't act in real life. Literally come in here as a grown-up, mature person and tell me why, if you do support this move or think it's a good idea or something, please explain. I will listen.
Finally, someone asking the right question without the tribalism. Just straight up, make this make sense. And nobody can. Because Scott Bessent's got a hedge fund buddy named Robert Citrone who dropped billions betting on Argentina's libertarian experiment. When it started tanking, suddenly $20 billion in rescue money appears. Bessent gets a text during UN meetings, "You won't believe what Argentina just did," because they immediately stabbed American farmers in the back by dropping export taxes and selling cheap to China. Connect those dots. Taxpayer money saved a billionaire's bad bet. That same money helped foreign farmers undercut American ones. And we're supposed to believe it's about strategic global economics? Come on. It's a bailout for the wealthy disguised as foreign policy. The farmers asking for explanations deserve better than trust the plan nonsense. They're losing multi-generational farms while watching their government fund their replacement.
So let me get this straight. We can't afford medications and health care for people in the United States, but we can bail out Argentina for $20 billion fucking dollars. We can pay for everyone in Israel to have fucking health care. Oh, but you can't afford your diabetes medication? You get to die because you're American. What the fuck? I'm supposed to have like 4 surgeries. I don't know when I'm ever going to have those, just so I can have function in my hands and feet again. I haven't been able to work on the computer for more than like 20 minutes in a couple years now. People are dying. This is eugenics. They want people to die. We can obviously afford for people to not die. That's just not the choices certain people want to fucking make. Because these goddamn CEOs make money off of people fucking dying. But seriously, why the fuck did we bail out Argentina?
4 surgeries just to have working hands and feet again. Years of waiting, can't afford it, can't work properly without it. But Argentina gets $20 billion overnight. No committee hearings, no budget debates, no how will we pay for it, just done. Every time someone needs insulin, or cancer treatment, or disability support, suddenly it's, we can't afford that, where's the money coming from? But corporate bailouts? Hedge fund rescues? Foreign aid to protect American investments abroad? The money printer goes brrr. Farm bankruptcies are spiking. Suicide rates in rural communities are climbing. People are rationing life-saving medication. And the response is, sorry, budget's tight, while billions flow to people who've never missed a meal in their lives. The cruelty isn't a bug. It's the feature. Because when you make healthcare and survival contingent on wealth, you're not running a country, you're running a protection racket.
What?
President Trump is giving Argentina a $20 billion bailout.
So we can do Venmo, Zelle, or give me a second. This comically large check.
And some of the president's most loyal supporters, specifically soybean farmers, are not happy about it. See, China consumes more than 60% of the world's soy. And because of Trump's tariff war with Beijing, American farmers are now selling literally 0 soybeans to China.
I haven't been able to move all these beans, man.
And Trump wants to smooth this over by sending American farmers checks, paid for with the revenue from tariffs.
Can I interest you in a game show-sized check?
But at the same time, Argentina is also undercutting American farmers by changing its policy so it can sell more soybeans to China. Now, Trump and his allies have been longtime fans of the Argentine president Javier Milei. His Doge-style attacks on government spending and regulation make him practically a member of the MAGA family. And because they have similar policies, Trump has a political interest in keeping Milei's government afloat, to validate Trump's own attacks on government.
I'm surrounded by beans. I got this check. Who wants what?
Giant novelty checks while your market burns to the ground. Perfect metaphor. What's not in this frame? The farmer who just took out a loan he can't repay. The family selling equipment their grandfather bought. The 6th-generation farm that won't make it to 7. The guy who looked at his debts, his failed crops, his disappeared markets and decided he was done. Farm suicide rates have been climbing for years. Not because farmers are weak, because the economic ground beneath them is deliberately being destroyed while they're handed symbolic compensation that doesn't fix anything structural. China bought 52% of American soybeans. That market's gone. Brazil built it better. Argentina's now getting discounted into that space with American money, and farmers are supposed to be grateful for bailout checks that might cover a few months while their entire industry gets dismantled. The people celebrating this as winning? They're not the ones losing everything their family built over a century. They're the ones who never had skin in the game to begin with.
So the Trump administration is getting ready to bail out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion. If you are a Republican and you are a Trump supporter, I wish for 1 minute that you would stop listening to the rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration and actually look at the facts. Because even though Trump talks about America first, here he is bailing out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion, while the average American suffers, while our prices increase, while we're losing our health care, while they're wanting to raise the age of retirement. We have to stop listening to politicians and what they say and look at actually what they do. We have to allow facts to speak over rhetoric. We have to learn how to do this and to think critically of what's really happening here. And Argentina needs a bailout because they are implementing the same types of policies that Trump supports and is doing here to bring back the so-called golden age, better known as the Gilded Age, where the rich got extremely rich and the workers got their rights stripped away, were paid basically nothing. That's what they have done throughout the last 40 plus years under trickle-down economics. They've made us all slaves to wages. In each passing year, the cost of living increases, but yet our standard of living decreases. The purchasing power of our dollar is decimated, and this is what they are bringing. So now Trump is bailing out Argentina with $20 billion of your tax money. They always tell us they never have money for all of the things that benefit the citizens of this country, but somehow we have the money for UFC events at the White House. We have money for ballrooms. We have money for the Rose Garden. We have money to give to Israel at $3.8 billion a year, and we also have money to bail out other nations while the Americans suffer. We need to start focusing on facts over words. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Naomi Klein wrote about this exact pattern, called it the shock doctrine. Country hits crisis. Reformers show up promising salvation through radical free markets. Cut government. Privatize everything. Remove regulations. Let capitalism work its magic. Sounds efficient. Sounds logical. Then reality hits. Public assets get sold to connected insiders for pennies. Essential services get privatized and costs explode. Workers lose protections. Wages collapse. The economy might grow on paper, but every dollar goes straight to the top while everyone else drowns. Chile under Pinochet. Russia after Soviet collapse. Iraq after invasion. Now Argentina. Same playbook. Same results. Same wealthy investors profiting off the wreckage. And American taxpayers just funded another round of it. While the same ideology gets applied here, cutting social programs, privatizing government functions, eliminating worker protections, all while bailing out whoever's rich enough to matter when things go wrong. We're not helping Argentina's people. We're subsidizing an economic experiment that's failed everywhere it's been tried, and paying for a front row seat to watch it crash again. Should I update the artifact with these completely new versions?
This is Grim with Get the Rant. Like, share, follow for more, and I'll see you all in the next video.
I keep trying to make this video under 3 minutes, but it's important for me to make sure that all the details are here. There's some breaking news in that Scott Bessent received a text message from the agricultural secretary during the UN meetings, and the Associated Press snapped a picture of that text message over his shoulder. And what it did was it shone a light on the ineptitudes of this administration and the people that this administration puts in charge of keeping this country running smoothly. See, what happened was Donald Trump and Scott Bessent gave Argentina a $20 billion bailout with your tax dollars and mine because of their slumped economy just ahead of the election. So as soon as that $20 billion was in the president's hand of Argentina, they dropped all of the tariffs and taxes on grain export, and China bought 20 boatloads of soybeans from Argentina. Now, these are sales that Argentina would never have had because China bought soybeans from American farmers up until this whole tariff war. So the president of Argentina, Milei, is a good friend of Donald Trump's. So basically the text message that was on Scott Bessent's phone from the agricultural secretary said, "You're not going to believe what Argentina just fucking did," and sent him a link to an X account that was talking about it. And it was an X account owned by Ben Scholl, who's a grain expert. And he said China and Argentina work together for soybeans as Bessent offers to subsidize the Argentine economy. They think you are stupid. You meaning the United States government, Donald Trump, Scott Bessent, and every other Trumpy sycophant who will do anything to please that man. Let me break it down. Argentina gets $20 billion of your tax dollars and my tax dollars, while Americans can't afford groceries or gas. Farmers are sinking. Their farms are failing. They can't feed their kids. The same people who called us communists and socialists are standing at the White House with their hand out, begging for a socialist handout because their farms have gone under thanks to this administration. And then after Argentina gets that $20 billion, they turn around, drop the tariffs and the taxes for China to buy up all of Argentina's soybeans, blocking out the American farmers from soybean sales to China completely. So we got like quadruple fucked in the entire deal, and we're out $20 billion. Meanwhile, homeless veterans still exist. Veterans can no longer afford their medication for their cancer treatments, and the government's telling them, oh well, die off. They lived an honorable life. And American red hats are still pretending like nothing is wrong. Their egos have them refusing to admit that this man is driving our economy into the ground. It is a series of steps like these over the next few years that is going to tank our economy and put more Americans out of jobs and out of homes. Told you so.
Tell me putting America first is to bail out Argentina's economy, help their government out, give them $20 billion? Doesn't sound like putting Americans first to me.
So if you're wondering why Donald Trump is giving $20 billion of our tax money to Argentina, what's happening right now is the United States is bailing out Argentina because the president has been implementing a very libertarian free market reform in order to boost Argentina's economy and to bring down inflation. And this is what's known as the shock doctrine. If you don't know what the shock doctrine is, I would recommend going on Google and looking up someone named Naomi Klein. She wrote a book about this. And what the shock doctrine is basically when a developing nation has problems related to its economy, related to economic growth, usually because of corruption, almost always because of something that is out of the control of most of the people living in the country. What happens is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and other big countries basically go in and offer a bailout, but only if the country implements massive radical free market reforms that essentially eliminate government involvement in the economy as much as possible. It almost always is a complete failure. And one of the reasons it's a complete failure is because it privatizes state-owned enterprises and basically goes out of its way to screw over as many poor people as possible. The only people who benefit from free market reforms are typically rich people and oftentimes companies from other countries that come in and basically take over the government agencies and basically charge more money over time. So what's happening in Argentina is this free market reform has hit a major roadblock, and now it's the U.S.'s job to bail them out. And I cannot recommend enough, if you don't understand why this is such a problem, you should go on Google and you should search for Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. Pick up a copy of the book or read one of the articles that she's written about this. It happens over and over and over. It happened in Iraq. It's happened in certain Eastern European countries. It happened in Chile under Augusto Pinochet, who screwed over his own people over and over again. He sold off state enterprises. He implemented all of these free market reforms. The economy kind of grew, but poor people got poorer and rich people got richer, which is typically what happens. And so I would definitely, if you want to learn more about how this works and what's going to happen in Argentina over the next couple of years, you can actually predict it pretty easily by informing yourself about this topic.